living in Atlantic Canada has got to be concerned about the tar sands for a number of reasons. You know, the first, of course, and most direct issue being that, you know, First Nations communities living on the front line of tar sands expansion are experiencing irreparable harm to ecosystems that they depend on for their livelihood, you know, through their hunting and fishing livelihood. And this hunting and fishing livelihood is constitutionally protected in Canada. So the government of Canada, the provincial government of Alberta, and the private sector operating in the bitumen bonanza in Cree, Dene, and Métis territory in northern Alberta are operating illegally. And you know, I think that there is a moral imperative for everybody to take action because of that, in the interest of justice and reconciliation of Canada's controversial colonial past, because that past is not in the past and has emerged in a neo-colonial form of colonization in the form of Canada's energy policy and an economic paradigm.
Decolonize the land, we're changing up the system, we're changing up the plan. Decolonize the water, decolonize the land, we're changing up the system, we're changing up the plan. Decolonize the water, decolonize the land, we're changing up the system, we're changing up the plan.
And so, you know, the other piece that, you know, we need to be concerned about, the second piece in Atlantic Canada, of course, is our rapidly destabilizing climate being driven by, you know, unsustainable development like the tar sands and the issue of rising sea levels. You know, this impacts everyone on a global scale, fisherfolk included, and, you know, localized impacts related to climate weather events. You know, violent, unpredictable climate-related weather events are going to become the norm. So people, you know, in Atlantic Canada need to think about that.
There are significant parts of the movement that do want to step it up a little bit and express their sense of urgency and their desire not just for action, but for specific actions that are just and that create jobs for communities that have been on the front lines, the receiving end of this toxic fossil fuel-based economy. And you know, what's significant here today is that many of the people who organized this were some of the key organizers for Occupy Wall Street almost exactly 3 years ago to the day. And you know, that was about an economic system that was creating vast inequality, that was sacrificing people in the name of profit, that was foreclosing on so many homes. And 3 years later, people are back to say this same system, the same logic of short-term profits above all else is actually foreclosing on our collective homes. And so the stakes are that much higher. This is New York City post-Superstorm Sandy. So climate change is not some abstract, far-off issue. It is a force that has also stolen people's homes, that has also exacerbated inequality. So people are ready to connect these dots and demand not just any old action, but demand real economic transformation. And they know who's responsible, and they live on Wall Street.
Do you think that
Give up! Give up! Quit! Quit! Upping! Upping! The police! The police! Have an arrest team! Have an arrest team! That way! That way! And buses and vans? With group, we're about 300. We're changing up the system. We're changing up the plan. Decolonize the water. Decolonize the land. We're changing up the system. We're changing up the land. Decolonize the water. Decolonize the land.
Hey, this is Robert Brune with We Act Radio and DC Media Group. I'm here with Michael Brune of the Sierra Club. So, what did you think of the protest yesterday?
I thought it was great. 400,000 people. It's one of the best expressions of a growing, diverse, inclusive, boisterous, enthusiastic movement. And our challenge now is to build on the momentum and to make sure that we actually seize our potential for clean energy.
So, when you say build on the movement, what are some of the steps going forward?
There's a lot of things we need to do. We need to make sure the Keystone XL pipeline isn't built. We need to make sure that we stop the expansion of fracking and begin to transition away from coal, away from gas, away from oil towards clean energy, and to make sure that we are supporting the local communities that are on the front lines of this struggle.
You have a history of engaging the corporations with Rainforest Action Network. Have you had that experience with Sierra Club?
Yeah, Sierra Club has done some work to challenge and push companies to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. But there are lots of groups who do really good work. Rainforest Action Network continues to do this, Greenpeace. There's hundreds of organizations who are simultaneously inspiring, persuading, challenging, confronting companies to actually lead and to meet their responsibility.
So, what do you think of the Club Wall Street here today?
I think it's great. I think that this is a movement that is really strong. It's diverse. There's going to be some great speakers talking in a little bit, and a large demonstration on Wall Street, which is clearly a big part of the problem right now. The way in which investors, financiers, leading banks and companies are not engaging in an aggressive transition away from dirty fuels.
My name is Jumaane, Councilman from Brooklyn. Okay. So what's going on here today? I think this is a continuation of what happened yesterday. Was very, very exciting yesterday. I was a part of that. I'm here more in my capacity as a council member to observe, make sure this voice is heard. I think it's a very important voice. I want to make sure that it's heard and respected and people's rights aren't violated. So that's usually what I try to do with these kind of things. Unfortunately, I have a hearing that I have to chair in about half an hour. So I got to head back up to City Hall.
Have you done this before?
Yeah.
Have you ever been arrested in a situation like this? And what was that situation?
One was civil disobedience that we planned. Got a little pushed around, and another one that was unplanned. But I generally just try to come and make sure things go as quote-unquote smoothly as possible.
So what do you feel in common with the protesters here trying to battle calmly?
I believe what they're saying, point blank, no point about it. And to be honest, no change has ever happened quietly. Everyone tries to pretend that these things are like outlandish, but that's the only way change has ever happened in this country and actually around the world. So when I hear that, I'm a little surprised. But I'm here less as a participant and more of a councilman. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our streets, 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 our streets.
If the police begin to arrest you, we're advocating everyone sit down in that area. There's also a suggestion. So that we can have our voices heard. That people sit down in the streets and not let traffic flow. So if people over there are able to blockade it, that would be great. We have over 1,000 people.
You know, of course, here in the United States, the Keystone XL pipeline campaign has become the lightning rod of the U.S. environmental movement, and that is very much due to the frontline indigenous communities and ranchers and landowners and environmental justice communities as far down as Port Arthur, Houston, Texas, that have risen up to fight against this project. You know, it is the fuse to the carbon bomb known as the tar sands, but there are also half a dozen other fuses that are going to be lit if we allow them to be, you know, including the Energy East pipeline, which of course is almost twice the size of the proposed Keystone XL pipeline, double the length, you know, and will bring tar sands crude if we allow it to Atlantic Canada. And this is all part and parcel, you know, and I think that this is the piece that all of us need to think about, especially our young people, that, you know, this is bigger than tar sands. This is bigger than pipelines or tar sands extraction. This is fundamentally about our economic paradigm and the fact that you know, the government of Canada has ratified a bilateral free trade agreement with China, the FIPA, and has also signed a bilateral free trade agreement with Europe. And these pipeline proposals are part of a larger neoliberal strategy to turn Canada into an export economy of raw resources to facilitate the neoliberal free market agenda. So educate yourself, become aware of the market forces that are driving the global climate crisis, and throw a wrench in the machine. If we don't stop business as usual and disrupt commerce, we're not going to be able to get the ears of these policymakers like the ones that are meeting here in New York City.